Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another one of Qwizical's Guides to with me, Qwizical. And today we are looking at opening plays, the very first move of the game. Opening plays are really important because they can shape how the rest of the game goes. You may not think it, but if your opening play is full of really defensive tiles, then you're really limited in what you can do with the board, and sometimes it ends up looking really, really bad. But we're going to look at a more open style of opening plays, and we're going to talk about all the different things you need to consider when choosing your opening play. So here is an example of an opening play. I'm not going with the typical Queen Quenner example. I'm going with something else today. So here's your opening rack. Now ideally you want to play a 5-letter word in your opening move. Those typically score maybe about 24 to 30 plus points. Those are the ones all my opponents tend to do, and that always really upsets me. My opponents are always way too good at playing 5-letter words on their opening move. But yeah, this opening move, you have a couple of considerations. You have a couple of 5-letter words to choose from. And the first thing that we're always going to consider is, especially on this rack, can we maximise this J tile on either of these squares? Now, I'm pointing at either of these squares. I am a verti. I open vertically. But for the purpose of this exercise, I will open horizontally. It's so bad. So, to maximise the J, we could play a word like Jocko. 52 points. Really impressive. Great hook for Jock if you know it. And this is clearly the best opening move of the lot. But what if you don't know Jocko? Because, you know, sometimes we don't know these words. And you know, the very first time I came across this word in an actual game, I didn't know it either. And I missed a double-double because of it. So, yeah. But there are a couple of other options here. There is Croak. Scores 28. One of the issues with Croak, or say Crook, is that it does leave a vowel next to... Let's put it back on. Next to the double letter square. And this is something you really want to try and avoid when making your opening play. Sometimes it's unavoidable, and you're just going to have to go with it. It's not always detrimental to the score your opponent's going to get. It's not always too important, you know, but if you place like an O or an A next to these squares, your opponent can really easily score 30 or 40 plus points of it if they're holding JZX. One of those three anyway. Not all of them. All of them would be a bit complicated. But either way, it's always important to consider the placement of these vowels. If you can avoid doing so, do it. One of the other things to always consider with your opening plays is what kind of extensions or Benjamins in this case can occur. So looking specifically at this rack, a play like Karoo is particularly useful because you are holding the really important letters to make the Benjamin. So a Benjamin is a particular 3-letter extension to a 5-letter word. In this case, we can extend Karoo to Jackaroo, and we are holding both the J and the C to make this happen. Now, of course, we're relying on ourselves drawing an A, but Karoo in particular over Croak, or Crook, they both score 28 points. Unfortunately, they do both leave a vowel next to here, but the advantages of playing Karoo over Croak or Crook is that it will distract your opponent away from the Benjamin. So your opponent is less likely to block the Benjamin if they've got a wonderful scoring opportunity over here. And that's something that really is going to be discussed more in the video. But we're gonna not talk about that in this video, and we're just gonna focus on the decisions that we're making with this opening play. So we've already made the choice between Jocko, crook, or of course crook is better in this alternative position because it doesn't leave vowels next to the triple. But of course crook or croak here also have extensions on the other side, so maybe you're more likely to play on the other side. Who knows? Or of course I should know because I'm the one talking about this video. But anyway, we've seen all these different move decisions. You've got Karoo, crook or croak in that position, Jocko, and whatever move you choose to make is up to you, but it really helps if it's the right one for the right reasons. Now, I would recommend not playing Karoo if you didn't hold the J or the C or both, because you don't want to have to rely on yourselves picking up specific letters to make specific plays. If you pick them up, great. If you don't worry about it. Just don't try and focus on those tiles because you'll end up losing a bunch of points because of it. So I think we've pretty much covered the majority of what I want to talk about for this video. So let's summarize it. Point number 1, vowel placement. Remember that putting vowels next to double letter squares, triple letter squares, double word squares, triple word squares, just generally vowels next to those coloured squares, open it up for your opponent to score a bomb. They will score so many points if you do that. Always try and play your opening move in such a way that doesn't allow for those types of moves to happen, because you'll find that you're able to keep in touch with your opponent more, or maybe even take the lead a lot more often when you're finding you're having to score less points to do so. Secondly, maximise your power tiles. If you're holding the J, the X, the Q or the Z, always try to look to get those tiles on the double letter square on your opening play. Always try and find a 5-letter word with them in, either starting or ending with them, and you'll find that you'll easily score 40 plus points. Thirdly, Benjamins or extensions. Benjamins in particular are 3-letter word extensions to 5-letter words, like I said, or extensions can be on the other end of the word, or maybe even longer if you're really, really clever at finding really long words. Nigel. But it's always important to consider the types of Benjamins or extensions that are available. If possible, write them down on your score sheet so you don't forget them. But always remember that there is a possibility of extending the opening plays to the triple, and those themselves can score 30 points at least. So always keep in mind of the possibility. Now, one thing that I haven't really mentioned in the previous part of this video, which I'm going to bring up now, is the potential to try words. If you're unsure of a word, then the opening play is almost the perfect time to try a word, because you're not going to fall behind, and there's nothing on the board. Your opponent's not going to really go super far ahead unless they've drawn a bonus. Now, unfortunately, this does have the drawback of letting your opponent know exactly what tiles you have. But at the same time, they might try to be ultra defensive with their version of the opening move, because say you've exchanged or you've played a phony or whatever. But it's always important to try these words because you're not really losing anything. So say, for example, you actually saw Jocko and you were like, well, I really want to maximise my J here, but I'm not sure of Jocko. You could always just try it. If your opponent challenges and it comes off, well, they know you've got the J and they're going to be like, gotta block the possibilities for a J. But then if it stays on, you've got 52 points right there. Maybe even +5 if we're playing a 5-point penalty. So it's always important to try some words. So thank you for watching my short video on opening plays. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. And I hope that you will join me next time for another installment of Qwizical's Guides. Bye!